AgDay, brought to you by the revolutionary new Counter Lock and Load, and by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Good morning, this is AgDay. I'm Al Pell. Today's top stories. The Ag Department is helping fighting farmers. The department told lawmakers yesterday that it has begun steps to help farmers serving in the Persian Gulf. The steps include temporarily exempting farmers serving in the war from actively applying their conservation plans. It includes lowering the interest rates of FMHA farm program and commercial loans by up to 6 percentage points if reservists have difficulty meeting payments. The steps also include allowing other qualified individuals to enroll a farmer's acreage in department crop programs if the farmer is serving overseas. Additionally, the Ag Department will give serving farmers extra support in signing up for its 1991 crop programs. Finally, the USDA Extension Service is also giving advice to farm families if the farm manager is serving in the Gulf. The House Ag Committee sent a proposed bill to the full House Tuesday. It asked for a boost in export bonus funding for the remainder of the fiscal year of an additional $475 million. The proposal also asked for a $500 million annual funding minimum to be set for 1992 through 1995. Currently, the program spending is capped at $425 million for fiscal 91. The fiscal year ends in September. Nearly all the existing funds in the program for the fiscal year have already been spent. Lawmakers criticized the Farmers Home Administration for delays in processing loans. The comments came yesterday during House Agricultural Credit Subcommittee hearings. Mississippi Representative Mike Espy said farmers in his district have told him it can take up to 6 months to get guaranteed loans processed. Charles Stenholm, the Democrat from Texas, said 25 bankers in his state refused to participate in the guaranteed program because it involves too much paperwork. Now that the Uruguay round of general agreement on tariff and trade talks has restarted, some voices of concern are being raised. The United Kingdom's Ag Minister is calling for a successful conclusion to the talks. Meanwhile, the Japanese government is concerned that prolonged talks would increase U.S. protectionism. The talks were declared back on track Tuesday. What is Johnson grass and how do you control it? The answer when Ag Day continues. As corn and soybean farmers head out to the fields, they'll find something's waiting for them, namely weeds. Among them will be Johnson grass, one of the toughest. Larry Huffmeyer of ICI Agriculture Products talks about winning the weed war.
Of course, if you've got Johnson grass, you've got a lot to worry with or a lot to manage. Probably still the best approach if you're plagued with Johnson grass is plant soybeans and use a good post program, including Fusilade 2000. Still does an excellent job in controlling rhizome Johnson grass and does it at a very good value at today's prices. There are new options, of course, in corn. A person can use some of the newer herbicides that go over the top in corn to kill Johnson grass also. They aren't quite as effective maybe as what we have in soybeans, although the price is similar per acre. ICI's philosophy is that a grower should still start with a good base treatment underneath his corn to minimize whatever Johnson grass competition there may be and come back later with the post-applied products where needed. If you look at it on a cost per acre basis, if he can minimize the acres treated over the top, he can actually treat 100 acres for a lot less money. A person can start with a base treatment of Sutan or Sudazine and spend about the same money today as he can on a competitive product that has very little activity on Johnson grass. And we can minimize 70 to maybe 85% that way. Coming back later with an $18 to $24 treatment can really lower his production costs, say, on like 100 acres.
And you still get pretty good effective control.
Yeah, and the key is you'll get good control and maximum yields out of your corn. The most important thing, whatever their decision be, in equipment or chemicals, that the product has a good track record as far as performance. You want to get the most performance for the money and do the things that have been proven to be winners in the past. That's well above whatever whatever price gimmick that may be out here in the marketplace.
And now John Powers tells us what's making news consumer-wise this morning.
Thank you, Al. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, as March approaches, the weather in many areas goes from spring-like one day to frigid the next. It's bad for farming and for outdoor exertion. If you work out in the cold weather and have trouble breathing afterwards, you may be suffering from a surprisingly common ailment, exercise-induced asthma brought on by the cold. Jim Cameron has some health tips you might want to keep in mind.
Gym coaches call it lung nip. Doctors call it bronchospasm. And most people don't even realize that the wheezing, coughing, and shortness of breath they feel after exercising in the cold air of winter is actually a form of asthma. Dr. Edward Kent, manning an asthma screening booth at upstate New York's Whiteface Mountain, explains.
Exercise is a very common trigger for asthma. And exercise in the cold air is very potent for bringing on asthma symptoms. What actually happens is that the muscles that line the chest, these muscles constrict. And when they constrict, they narrow the breathing tubes, and you get a sensation of breathlessness, a tightness in your chest, a coughing, and sometimes a wheezing.
Asthma affects more than 15 million Americans every year. But everyone from the smallest child to the most highly trained Olympic athlete can overcome this ailment with the proper medical treatment. Swimming star Nancy Hogshead has written a book about her bouts with asthma and is currently conducting wintertime sports clinics for those who have difficulty breathing on the slopes.
And sometimes asthma gets in the way of enjoying skiing, like makes my chest all tight, and I have a hard time sleeping at night, and I cough a whole lot. But as long as I take care of my asthma, it's not a problem at all. I do some very simple things. One of the things I do is I use what's called a rotohaler device, which I just twist this thing right here, and it dispenses the medication, and I inhale. And then I hold my breath for 10 seconds, and I do some other simple things, like I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth, and I wear a mask over my nose and mouth, which helps warm and humidify the air right here. When I'm in the lodge, I warm up for a bit longer.
So if you think you may suffer from exercise-induced asthma, see your family physician. This is Jim Cameron reporting.
And let's see if we're going to have any of that frigid air anywhere around today. Here's Pam Land.
Thanks, Johnny. Good morning. Good news for California. The rain continues there. Also, the nation's warming up just a bit. We'll also head to the Soviet Union. Don't go away. Weather's next.
AgDay weather is brought to you by mountain-grown Folgers coffee. Folgers, the best part of waking up.
And Pam Land is here with a look at our weather today.
Good news. The rain continues in California. It'll continue on into tomorrow as well. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But first, let's head to the Soviet Union and talk about the crop and weather conditions there.
Okay.
Rain and snow fell in the Soviet Union's winter wheat and rye region for the last couple of days, and also will be moving to the southernmost crop areas the next few days as well. Rain and snow fell in nearly 50% of all the winter crop areas during the past 24 hours. Temperatures this afternoon will be seasonably mild to warm. Highs will be in the upper 20s to 30s, with the eastern crop areas the coolest. Mild to cool temperatures are expected over the winter wheat and rye region the next couple of days. Closer to home, the good news continues out in California. Already they've received up to 1 to 2 inches of precipitation, and it looks like the storm system is going to continue to bring lots of raining activity to California and Nevada today into the evening hours and again on into tomorrow. Well, today is the last day of February, and it looks like most areas will be pretty much on the calm side today. Lots of sunshine in the hard red winter wheat region, in the corn and soybean region, and also down across the southeast into the citrus areas. Most of the snow will be confined, of course, typically up in the northern areas of the Dakotas into Montana, on up across northern parts of Michigan, and on up across the northeast and up into Canada. Again, high pressure pretty much dominates everybody today, and the temperatures are going to be relatively mild for this time of year. We'll look at that in just a bit. Right now, here's the way the snow cover looks. Still some snow up across the Pacific Northwest, into the Rockies, through the Dakotas, on in through the Midwest and the upper Great Lakes, and on up across the Northeast. Highs today, again, relatively mild. Looks pretty nice. Lots of 70s and 60s down south, some 40s and 50s. Here's some cool weather, though. It'll be confined to the northern areas. By the evening hours, we'll have 0 to 5 degree readings up into the Dakotas, some 10 and 20s and some 30s. Kind of unseasonably cool, though, for this time of year across the northern areas. But the south looks pretty darn mild. Looks like it's going to continue to be that way for the next couple of days. As we begin March tomorrow, things look pretty good, although there is a storm system that will be brewing across the desert southwest, moving through the Midwest. And with the relatively mild temperatures, all of that could be rain. But if the temperatures do decide to drop a little bit, you're looking for a lot of snow. We'll talk about that tomorrow. That's a look at the weather for today. Now let's look at the Folgers forecast for your hometown.
The Des Moines area forecast for today, some fog this morning, but mostly sunny later with a high of 57. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 40 degrees. For Friday, a 60% chance for rain and a high of 55. Currently in Des Moines, fog and 26 degrees.
And tomorrow we'll take a look at the weekend outlook.
And we'll keep watching California and hopefully get more rain.
Things look pretty good there right now.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, Pam. Market analyst Jim Bauer gives us his view of the latest market activity. Jim?
Al, yesterday we saw some mixed actions in the agricultural complexes. Going over to grain, we saw the July beans run up towards 604 being the high, but then closing down on the day at 598 and quarter down 6 cents on. First notice day on the March contracts right ahead of us, as well as the perception that the major areas of Rio Grande do Sul and Paraná in Brazil were going to be receiving in the next several days a little bit more precip than originally expected earlier in the week. Of course, that system laid heavy rains in Argentina, but there is still some question just how much is actually going to push up into Brazil, so only time will tell there. Also, with the war in the Middle East going the way it has gone, there does still seem to be some perception that the recession that we are currently seeing will be a little bit milder and of less duration than originally expected. So some of the markets, particularly, again, the stock market is really benefiting from that. And, of course, speculative dollars continue to flow in that particular direction. Overall, though, I think the market will try to balance itself in the next several days once we get the delivery situation in perspective. And from there, in the March through July time frame, where the volatility normally does see a rapid increase, I think the players will be using different strategies in the options market to play both the up as well as the potential down, essentially both ways in that particular structure, especially in grains.
Warming relations between China and the U.S. and agriculture helps bridge the gap. The story when AgDay continues. now John has today's look at what's at issue.
Thanks again, Al. Following the Tiananmen Square massacre in Beijing, China, relations between the U.S. and China were strained. Now, however, they're warming again, as evidenced in a recent tour across the southeast. And James Booth was there.
A group of Chinese scientists and government officials recently toured the western U.S., including Texas, where they visited pecan orchards and collected plant materials.
We are very glad to be here with so many American horticulturists. We are very exciting to see a lot of things in your country.
Basically, they'll share with us anything, and we'll share with them about anything. There's no boundaries.
Got to be a lot of trust involved in that.
Yes, there is. We find out that they are just people like we are.
Our peoples exchange goods, too. Over $1.3 billion worth of mostly agricultural commodities a year. For China, these sales are critical.
Probably 1/3 of the gross national product, and about 60% of the labor force is involved in production agriculture.
Any kind of traumatic event that has a negative impact on Chinese agriculture inhibits their ability to buy from us. What that means is that we are increasingly codependent, and that people, sometimes despite governments, can accept that.
Chinese people very like to have horticulturists to be friends, and so we can exchange ideas and peppers, materials, everything, and also we make a very close friendship.
From the pecan orchards of south central Texas, this is James Booth reporting for the Texas Agricultural Extension Service.
And I wonder now if this codependency and all the trade relations and all the rest will be the way of the world now that the Mideast seems to be settling down again, thank God.
I think without a doubt the Western world would like to have that happen. Developing countries would too, but
people everywhere that want to eat would like it to happen too.
Developing countries still have a problem. They don't have that cash with which to expend with.
Yeah, money talks.
We'll have more Ag Day in just a moment. Stay with us. There may soon be a better way to test fruits and vegetables for ripeness. No more plugging, sniffing, or squeezing will be needed. Agricultural engineers at Purdue University are developing an inexpensive sensor that measures sugar content and firmness of produce without touching it. The new sensor could lower produce prices by cutting waste. About 20% of fruits and vegetables are thrown away because of over-ripening. In addition, winemakers are interested in the sensor. It will tell them the best grapes to use in their wine. The prototype sensor is the size of 2 shoeboxes, but the actual device will be smaller and more flexible. With its use on the horizon, your local produce department will be a place of perfection. That's all the time we have for today. We thank you for yours. I'm Al Pell, wishing you the best for our troops in the Persian Gulf. And have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
AgDay has been brought to you by Counter Lock and Load, the revolutionary new delivery system for your corn soil insecticide. For more information on Counter Lock and Load, call 1-800-942-0500.